I want to make a card game. Now, how do you go about doing something like this? I'm not really talking about just drawing on some note cards and calling it a day. I want to make a full-fledged game that you could actually find next to the likes of Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or even MetaZoo. I want to make a game fun enough that people actually want to play and dive deep into the mechanics that get produced. I want to make something that people remember as a classic years down the line. Now, so few people have actually been able to succeed in doing this, let alone it lasting for more than a year. So, I wanted to document the highs and lows of this journey, just see where we end up. And the best part with having people like you see me create something like this is you can put your own feedback and ideas in the comments of these videos, making this our card game rather than just my card game. Now, the first step in this long process is to figure out what the game is actually going to be. There's so many card games now, and to make one that's unique and fun enough that people will actually give you the time of day is a hard thing to do. So, how do we go about making something different? When I examined a bunch of card games that failed, I saw a lot of one big glaring issue, and that's how many of them tried to be like Magic. There's too many card games that try to be like Magic the Gathering, but like change maybe one thing. And that's just not going to work. Just because you think you fixed one issue with Magic doesn't mean everyone's going to come to you now. Magic is a juggernaut, and not just because of its unique systems, but because of its flaws too. People have come to love Magic for the things people have tried to fix, and sometimes Magic has already developed things within its own core game that circumvent these problems, like Cycle or Kicker. Just because you made a game like Magic, but instead the mana is in its own deck, doesn't mean people are just going to call you a genius and give you $1 million. People are going to try your game, see the Magic mechanics, and think about how much they'd rather play Magic just because of how much stuff there is. Compared to your game, when it just releases, you'll probably have nothing. They'll try a couple decks, see how similar it is to Magic, make them think about these new cards in Magic, and they'll just go play Magic. So what am I saying exactly? I'm saying that the biggest thing that needs to happen is our game needs to feel fresh. It needs to feel like something that nobody has played before. I mean, just look at Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. These games are nothing like Magic, and that's why they've been able to compete for so long. It can be very hard to come up with something completely new, and some would argue it's actually impossible. And that's where the term stealing like an artist comes from. It's basically to find small pieces of different works of art that you like and put them in your own work. And what this does is you eventually have something that looks like a completely unique work of art, even though it's really just an amalgamation of things that you like. And that's what I'm setting out to do with the initial core of this project. I wanted to try using a bunch of different things from a bunch of different games that I love, so it doesn't really look like a Magic clone or an anything clone, eventually having enough moving parts from everything that it feels like it's its own thing. So for starters, I wanted to go with a lesser known card game I love, Chaotic, a card game where you built an army of warriors and have them fight your opponent. I love this game, and I haven't seen anything else do it quite like this. So from here, I had to decide what the champions you picked do. And that's when I came to the idea of our mana system, where instead of it being in your deck or something on the side that builds up over time, you instead get all of it from the start, and the colors you have are determined for what your chosen warriors are. What I wanted to do was have a summoning system like Magic, but instead of it being a basic, you have 2 numbers, one for the health, one for the attack. You have a bunch of different attacks, like Pokemon, that you can do, but it's dependent on the amount of energy they have. And so where this energy comes from is the same mana that your heroes start with. And so the idea is, instead of only using it to play cards, you can also transfer it to your monsters in order to give them stronger attack. And so with doing this, I thought it made sense that the initial warriors that you build your army with can't attack, giving you a reason to have to make the summons. And with this on top, still being you having to kill your opponent's heroes in order to win the game. So now that we have a core idea of the game to test, we have to start building cards. And the best way to do that is, well, drawing on note cards. Okay, I know what I said earlier, but this isn't where we're gonna stay. And once I have them all drawn up, all I gotta do is call somebody and they can help me playtest our little note cards.
Hey guys.
So,
Explain the card layout first.
I think I should explain what every single card is, so that you know what you're looking at in your deck.
Well, I can pick it up on that. I just need to know what
The goal?
what the formula is. Yeah, because I know my goal is to kill you, but I need to know like
my guys.
how many times can I attack per turn?
So,
what is this
okay.
energy stuff about?
Yeah, so how you determine what, so I'm calling it power. We got Pokemon here.
Okay.
But just as a placeholder. But so the mana system I decided to call power.
Power system. So it's literally a power system.
Yeah. So how you determine what your power is? So every single one of your guys has 3 power on the left. It's either 2 and 1 or 3. And so you got 4 guys all together, that makes 12. And so that decides what your power is. That makes sense?
So like it decides which powers you have is which?
Yeah, like what you start with.
Okay.
So like we have cards so that like you can know what you're using, but in reality you technically don't need anything. Like these are just counters in a way, because what you actually have is on your guys.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait. So then, what is the power used for?
Playing cards.
Okay.
So, unlike
like this card, it requires a freak token and a fighting token.
Yeah, basically. And
so I need a freak token and a strong token in order to play.
Yeah. And so then how it works is you would pay those like you do mana or something, and then you don't have those for the rest of the turn. When your turn starts, you get those back.
Okay, so you wait. I'm trying to think, wouldn't it be a little freaky though? Because I would need I would have X amount of these ones, and then can you have what's the maximum amount of types you can have? As many as you want?
You could have as many as you want as long as you have 4 guys. So you could have 4 guys that are like completely different colors, or it would be more consistent. You'd probably want like 2 or 3 colors.
Yeah, okay.
So
which one's the freak one? And I can play as many cards as I want during my turn as long as I have the resources.
Yep.
Okay. Can
also,
yeah.
Something that's different from this game, but like not really, is counter cards. So how counter cards work is counter cards can only be played when it's your opponent's turn.
Okay.
Yeah, the counters. So the thing with them is, let's say I have a counter that costs 4, but I only have 3 left. I can't play that. It only resets when my turn starts. So you got to think about, do I want to save some energy or save some power for the counter I want to play on their turn? Yeah. Besides that, it's just summons, acts. Buildings are just summons, but they can't attack.
Summons, but they can't attack.
That's what buildings are. Right. And then I can break them. And then, so yeah, these guys can't attack, but you can use their effects whenever you want.
Okay.
Or not whenever you want, whenever you want on your turn. Yeah. And also, there's no phases or anything. It's just do what you want to do.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, can I attack and then play cards?
Yes.
But I can only attack once a turn?
You can attack
with each guy?
Yeah, you can attack once with each guy.
What the fuck?
So
wait, but then how do I attack though?
So yeah, let me get to that, because that's another big thing.
They got weapons up in them.
So they got power. So they require power to attack.
The warp summon?
Yeah.
Summons.
Yeah, there's some creatures or summons in this.
Is this a summon? No,
these are guys, bro. These are champions.
Like League of Legends.
Yeah. So how you get a guy is you have to have your main guys. So the flavor is supposed to be, so it's summoned, they're summoning him, and then they're imbuing their power onto him. And so he has that. Until he dies, I don't have access to that anymore.
So he attacks, but you can't attack.
These guys can't, but the summons can. And so what you can do is, once per turn, I can attach whatever power I want to a guy, and then I can use his attack. You tap him, and then say I use rage 3 damage, and then I pick what I want to attack. You can't attack these guys if I have a summon out.
Okay.
And what followed after that explanation of the game was a very, very long match. It took 2 hours to finish one full game. We both only had about 5 cards left in our decks by the end of it. Definitely the biggest problem I came to after this playtest, which could either mean that the game needs better strategies or the numbers are just too high and they take forever. I also noticed that it was very easy to trade creatures. So even if you got a big guy on the board, it didn't matter, because if I had a little guy, I could still take it out before you could do much of anything, considering it takes multiple turns to power a guy up. Among that, the game was actually very fun, just needs a few minor tweaks. For instance, I don't think having a generic number attached to the heroes when they get attacked for health makes any sense. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board on that and figure out something that's a bit more intuitive in how the game should function in terms of a health system. And the other thing I'm probably going to work on is making the decks a bit more comprehensive. When I created them, I just rushed out a bunch of ideas that weren't really cohesive together just to see if the concept was interesting enough. I guess that's the next 2 goals to figure out for the next video, is making 2 cohesive decks and come up with a new health system or way to win in general. And if you have any ideas or interesting things for the game, comment and I most likely will add it.